On the 30th of September, 2016, in the town of Gateshead, 4-year-old Alice was at home in her pajamas after a long day at work. She sat in her living room, texting Mike, a former British soldier she had recently started dating. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Alice walked cautiously to check and peeked through the peephole. When she didn't open, the man outside moved around to the back of the house, climbed over a wall, and came straight to her window. This time, he tapped on the glass. Startled, Alice pulled back the curtain. The man stood there, holding out a chocolate bar and a bouquet of roses he had brought with him. He placed them on her windowsill, raised his hands as if to show he meant no harm, gave her a strange smile, and slowly backed away before disappearing. At that moment, Alice felt her strength drain away. She collapsed onto her bed and broke down in tears. Alice Ruggles was born on the 24th of December, 1992, in a small village in Tilbury, Leicestershire, England. She was the third of 4 children. Her father, Professor Clive Ruggles, was a well-respected astronomer, while her mother, Sue Hills, worked as a high school teacher. From an early age, Alice was full of life, witty, humorous, and bright. She also became a talented fencer, competing throughout middle and high school. With her striking looks and outgoing personality, she was well known among her peers. And in academics, she excelled just as much. After finishing high school, she earned a scholarship to Northumbria University in Newcastle, where she joined the fencing team and met her best friend, Rosario. On the 11th of October, 2015, during her final year at university, Alice and Rosario decided to take a special trip together. They booked a 10-day holiday to Sri Lanka, a place full of beauty and mystery. Something unexpected happened during their flight. A man seated next to Alice told her she was the woman of his dreams. After a polite conversation, he asked for her phone number. Rosario later posted about the encounter on Facebook, teasing Alice about it. Friends jumped into the comments with jokes, and among them was one that would change everything. Trim on, Harry Dillon. Harry was born in 1990 India to a military father and a mother from a wealthy family. He studied at university in India for 2 years before transferring to Edinburgh, Scotland, as an exchange student. After graduating, he volunteered for the British Army. Thanks to his strong physique and determination, he earned a place in the Royal Regiment of Scotland and later trained in military intelligence, even serving in Afghanistan. During his service, he once had the chance to meet former Prime Minister David Cameron. Although Alice and Harry had been connected on Facebook, they had never exchanged messages. But after Rosario's playful post, something clicked. At the time, Harry was stationed in Afghanistan, and the chance to talk with Alice over Facebook and the occasional phone call became a bright spot in his otherwise difficult routine. For Alice, even during her trip in Sri Lanka, their growing conversations gave her butterflies. It felt like love at first sight. 2 months later, in January 2016, when Harry returned to his base in Edinburgh, he and Alice finally met face to face. Shortly after that first meeting, they officially began dating. Friends and family described them as a striking couple, and Alice's parents welcomed the relationship with open arms. But by August 2016, after 8 months together, Alice sent Harry a message that changed everything. It was a breakup. Harry was stunned, as if struck by lightning. He asked her why. Alice simply replied that the trust between them had already been broken, and there was no way to fix it. Unable to accept this sudden and one-sided decision, Harry pleaded with Alice, even in tears. But nothing he said could change her mind.
And yeah, that's the least I could have done. But I know you're not going to come out in front of me and speak to me, so that's why I left it there and showed my...
On the 12th of October, 2016, at 5:10 p.m., Alice, a bright young woman working at Sky's Satellite Broadcasting Center in Newcastle, was thrilled to learn she had been promoted. She met with her supervisor to thank him, and then left the office with him that evening. By 5:31 p.m., near Rawling Road in Gateshead, Alice stepped out of her boss's car and walked the short distance to her home. At 5:45 p.m., she texted Mike, a former soldier she had just started dating, sending him a photo of the dress she planned to wear for their upcoming weekend date. Mike replied, "What are you doing this Friday? Let's go have a drink." Alice responded playfully, "Isn't there anything healthier than beer?" By 6:30 p.m., her roommate and colleague, Maxine McGill, returned home. Strangely, the front door was locked, and Alice was nowhere to be found. Concerned, Maxine climbed over the back wall and entered through the small kitchen window. The moment she stepped inside, she sensed something was wrong. The house was unusually silent, and a faint metallic odor hung in the air. Following her instincts, Maxine went straight to the bathroom. There, she found Alice lying on the floor, unresponsive. In shock, she immediately called the police. Within 10 minutes, officers and paramedics arrived. But it was too late. Alice was gone. Another team of officers quickly launched a search for Harry. By 4:30 a.m., they arrested him at his military barracks in Edinburgh, Scotland. Even with the overwhelming evidence against him, Harry denied everything. He insisted he hadn't seen Alice that day, hadn't harmed her, and had no reason to. He even suggested that Alice might have been seeing other men through the dating app, Tinder, and claimed perhaps one of them was responsible. So what was the truth? Did Harry really kill Alice? Or was there another story hidden beneath the surface? To answer that, we have to go back to April 2016, when Alice and Harry were still in the early days of their romance. At first, Alice was happy, but she began to realize the relationship came with heavy costs. Harry's love quickly turned controlling. He demanded complete loyalty, insisting that because he gave her 100% of his love, she must give the same in return. Alice, eager to please, followed his demands. She cut off contact with nearly everyone in her life, except for her roommate Maxine. But the relationship became more suffocating. Harry tried to control who she talked to, when she could see friends and family, even criticizing what she ate, how she dressed, and how she behaved. The pressure wore her down. Alice lost nearly 15 kilograms during those months, not from choice, but from stress. Her father and closest friends noticed the change immediately. The once cheerful and outgoing Alice had become withdrawn, quiet, and weighed down with sadness. Friends urged her to reconsider the relationship, worried about her future. But time and again, Alice forgave Harry's behavior, swayed by his persistence and apologies. In July 2016, she received a Facebook message from another woman. This stranger told Alice she had just ended a relationship with Harry a month earlier. Not only had Harry betrayed Alice, but the woman also warned her about his controlling, jealous behavior. The message left Alice shaken. By August, she finally decided to end things. In her text, Alice wrote, "I truly respect you, Harry, but I don't know if I can trust you anymore. I think breaking up may be the best way for both of us to be happy." By September 2016, Alice still hoped to end the relationship peacefully, but Harry refused. "That's your problem, not mine. We can't break up," he told her. Furious, Alice vented to her friends. "I'm so angry. Harry says he's the victim, and I'm the bad one. He's even blaming me." From then on, Alice became more determined. She blocked and ignored every attempt at contact. But Harry didn't stop. For 2 months, through August and September, he bombarded her with around 150 messages, emails, recordings, and videos every single day. He even threatened to share private photos if she didn't respond. When Alice stayed silent, he escalated, hacking into her Facebook and email accounts with the IT skills he had learned in the army. After Facebook sent her a security warning, Alice quickly changed her password, only for Harry to message her again. "I don't need your password. I can still see everything." On the 30th of September, 2016, Harry showed up at Alice's window. He left behind a bouquet of red roses and a chocolate bar, smiling strangely before disappearing. He even left her a voicemail afterward. Shaken, Alice broke down in tears. But when she calmed herself, she did the only thing she could. She called the police. At first, the officers listened but didn't treat the matter as urgent. They believed it was just a breakup dispute. Still, given Alice's distress, they issued Harry a PIN police information notice. It was an official warning, similar to a restraining order, but it carried no legal weight. It was more of a caution, not an enforceable ban. So, while Harry's commanders, family, and friends all knew about his obsession with Alice, nothing truly prevented him from continuing. A week later, on the 7th of October, Harry mailed Alice a small package. Inside were letters he had written and photos of their time together. Opening it left Alice trembling once more. She called the police again. 5 days later, at midday on the 12th of October, 2016, Harry left his barracks in Edinburgh and drove to Gateshead in his BMW. CCTV cameras captured him stopping at a gas station before continuing on. By 3 p.m., he was parked outside Alice's home, waiting. At 5:31 p.m., he saw Alice return. stepping out of her boss's car. Harry climbed over the wall and broke into her kitchen. At 6:01 p.m., Mike, the man Alice had just started dating, texted her, "What are you doing this Friday? Let's go have a drink." Alice managed to reply, "Isn't there anything healthier than beer?" Moments later, before she could read Mike's response, Harry stormed into the house. He tried to convince Alice he didn't want to hurt her. Alice screamed, demanding he leave. After a tense struggle, he pulled out a kitchen knife he had taken when sneaking in. He attacked Alice in the bathroom. Within minutes, it was over. He took her phone and the knife with him, leaving the scene. The ordeal lasted barely 20 minutes, from 6:02 to 6:28 p.m. At 6:30, Alice's roommate Maxine McGill returned home. What she discovered led her to call the police immediately. Officers arrived within 10 minutes and began their investigation. With Maxine's testimony and DNA evidence found under Alice's nails, suspicion quickly turned to Harry. 8 hours later, at 4 a.m., police arrested him at his Edinburgh barracks. The evidence was overwhelming. He had fresh scratches on his face. Alice's DNA was on the steering wheel of his car and on a bracelet he was wearing. The signal from Alice's stolen phone also pinged in Edinburgh, yet Harry kept denying it all. He claimed he hadn't seen Alice that day. 6 months later, in April 2017, his trial began. He and his lawyers couldn't dispute the evidence. At first, Harry insisted he wasn't there. Then he changed his story, admitting he had broken into Alice's home but claiming he only wanted to talk nicely. He even alleged that Alice suddenly tried to harm herself and that he accidentally failed to stop her. The jury didn't believe a word. After 11 days of trial and just 2 hours of deliberation, Tremont Harry Dillon was found guilty of murder. He was sentenced to life in prison, with a minimum of 22 years before parole. In delivering the sentence, Judge Paul Sloan told him, "Throughout this trial, you've shown no real remorse. Instead, you focused on twisting the truth to your advantage. Not once did you shed a genuine tear." Harry later appealed, claiming the verdict was unfair. But the court upheld the sentence. In the months that followed, hidden truths about the case began to surface. 3 years before meeting Alice, Harry had dated another woman. She recalled that at first, he seemed caring, but one day he suddenly assaulted her in public, dragging her across the pavement simply because she refused to obey him. She reported him to the police and cut off all contact. Yet when Alice later reached out to the police about Harry's behavior, Northumbria police failed to check his record. They did not realize he had previously been issued a restraining order, and instead gave him only a PIN police information notice. This was little more than a formal warning, with no legal force, and it had no impact on someone as dangerous as Harry. On the 12th of October, the day of the murder, Harry parked near Alice's house at 2:30 p.m. and waited for 4 long hours. Records from his phone later showed that while sitting in his car, he was using the dating app Tinder to chat and even arrange a meeting spot with another woman. To Harry, Alice wasn't a partner to cherish, she was a possession to control. At the crime scene, investigators found clear evidence of the brutality. In her final moments, Alice had been forced to her knees, her upper body collapsing forward. The injuries she sustained revealed a calculated act. Police experts remarked that Harry carried it out with the cold precision of a soldier executing a prisoner. In the aftermath, Northumbria police admitted their failure to protect Alice, despite her having contacted them twice before. 2 officers involved were disciplined, and new provisions were added to the law to better address post-breakup stalking. The pain for Alice's parents was immeasurable. Her mother, Sue Hills, had once reassured her daughter, saying, "Ignore him, eventually he'll get tired and stop." Neither she nor Alice could have imagined that just 2 days later, the unthinkable would happen. 2 years after Alice's death, her parents, Sue and Professor Clive Ruggles, finally found the strength to channel their grief into action. They established the Alice Ruggles Trust, an organization dedicated to raising awareness and protecting women from stalkers and obsessive ex-partners. Thanks to their tireless efforts, the UK Parliament passed stricter measures against stalking crimes. Alice was only 24, bright, joyful, and full of hope for the future. Yet everything, including her life, was stolen in a single afternoon by a man consumed with obsession and control. Love, in its true form, is built on freedom and choice. People like Harry forget that. They believe love is about possession and compliance, and when they don't get what they want, they lash out. But real love cannot exist without respect, and it never has a place for blind control.